Are you frustrated by the constant itchiness, irritation, and sleepless nights caused by your baby's eczema? Have you been told that your only option is topical steroid creams, or that you should just wait until baby outgrows it? Well, today I'm going to share with you how we successfully treated our daughter's eczema. And I really think the information here will be helpful for anyone suffering with eczema, not just babies. So let's jump in the time machine and travel back 14 years when I had my second child, a beautiful baby girl. After an easy, uncomplicated delivery, I brought her home and we settled down to life as a family of 4. Baby was a little colicky and she did suffer from cradle cap and some infant acne. Other than that, she was very healthy and was in the 80th and 90th percentile on the growth chart. Everything was going pretty well until she hit about 2 months and she got a really bad cold. So I brought her to the doctor and he prescribed her some antibiotics. Almost immediately after she started those antibiotics, her face broke out in a very angry red weeping rash. I brought her back to the doctor and he thought that she must be allergic to that first type of antibiotic and he prescribed a second round of antibiotic. After that, things went from bad to worse and soon her whole body was covered with this rash. Life got really hard for us at this time. We brought her to the doctor. They said that she had severe eczema, but there wasn't really any options except possible steroid cream. And the idea of steroid creams did not sit well with me as they had potentially very harmful side effects. At this time, baby was constantly crying, itching, bleeding. We weren't getting much sleep. And on top of that, her weight was starting to drop, which was very concerning. When she was 6 months old, we drove 10 hours away to see a doctor who specialized in Chinese medicine. He had the reputation for being able to actually heal people with eczema, which was really exciting. This visit was the beginning of the end. And the first thing he did was something that I think everybody who has eczema should do, and that is get allergy testing. So a couple words here about testing. There are some very accurate allergy tests and less accurate allergy tests. Unfortunately, the testing that most pediatric offices will recommend only tests for one type of allergen protein, and you need to be getting all 3 types, IgG, IgA, and IgE. I'll try to post some links in the show notes to some testing that I've heard has worked for other people. The testing we did was electrodermal testing, which is something completely different. It's actually something to do with electric waves, and it was really weird at the time, but it was highly accurate. The doctor found 5 different foods that she was reacting to through my breast milk. On top of that, he determined that she had a very high yeast overgrowth, which I learned is actually really normal when you or your child has had antibiotics. And not only has she had 2 rounds of antibiotics, but I had been on antibiotics at the time of her birth. Yeast overgrowth can actually contribute a lot to food allergies, as the structure of the yeast can actually make your intestinal lining porous, and this allows food particles to pass through into the bloodstream, and your body creates a reaction which then causes a food allergy or intolerance. We went back home and right away we took those 5 foods out of her diet: gluten, dairy, corn, soy, and peanuts. We also started giving her some Chinese herbs that were supposed to help kill the yeast overgrowth. After taking out those 5 foods, about 2 weeks later, her skin was about 85 or 90% clear. Oh my goodness, it was wonderful. I took her out for a little photo shoot. I was so happy to see my baby smiling again. We're trying to give her the Chinese herbs that were supposed to help with the yeast overgrowth, but it was really hard. They were bitter and she was a little baby. We had to get them down her throat with a syringe. Looking back now and having talked to other mothers and learned more, I really wish that we would have known about nystatin. It's a prescription drug for yeast overgrowth that they actually used to routinely give with rounds of antibiotics. I don't know why they stopped that, but it's actually very safe. Life was still difficult at this time because I was avoiding these foods which were in practically everything. I mean, have you ever read food labels and seen how much corn and soy and gluten and dairy is in everything? And on top of that, I really wanted to start my daughter on solids to maybe help with her weight gain. And she ended up reacting to different foods when she ate them herself than the foods that she had reacted to through my milk. So really her diet was very limited. And I began to wonder if these antibiotics had caused this yeast overgrowth, which possibly contributed to her food allergies. There must be a way to heal her stomach and get rid of those food allergies so she could have a somewhat normal life. Did some research and I came across a Russian doctor, Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, and she wrote a book called Gut and Psychology Syndrome. Ta-da! Yes, the terrible condition of this book is a testament to the wonderful information inside. I referred to this book so many times and loaned it out to so many people. I could make a whole series of videos on what I learned from that book itself, but I would just advise you to check it out and read it yourself. Basically, 75% of our immune system is actually in our intestinal tract. When you have too many bad bacteria and not enough good bacteria, the chemicals from the bad bacteria can cause all kinds of illnesses. She also goes into leaky gut and yeast and antibiotics. I'm really just barely touching a very deep topic here. So we decided that we really wanted to not only treat our daughter's eczema, but really heal her from the inside out. Because eczema is not just a topical rash, it's a cry for help from your body that you have toxins and inflammation. 80% of babies with eczema go on to have serious hay fever or asthma later on. There's even mental conditions that are associated with eczema. You really don't want to ignore it. There are a lot of immune healing diets out there. There's the autoimmune protocol, body ecology diet. Some people do paleo and see big improvements. We decided to try Dr. Natasha's diet, the GAPS diet, short for Gut and Psychology Syndrome. And we started this diet when she was about 7 months old. I and my other daughter went on it as well. This is a very strict diet and it was really hard in a lot of ways, but I was very motivated to heal my daughter. Basically, you are not supposed to eat complex carbs, any processed food, sugars, lactose, and you are focusing on having a lot of healthy animal fats, ferments, and bone broth. Bone broth is a huge one. Looking back, I don't know if I would have done GAPS diet again because later on we actually started taking supplements that weren't allowed on the diet that were hugely helpful to us. So don't feel frustrated if maybe you're not ready to go on the GAPS diet yet. And just cleaning up your diet and your baby's diet, removing the allergenic foods, toxins, taking a lot of probiotic foods like sauerkraut and yogurt and kefir, I don't know. Everyone says it a different way. Anyways, do all that and you are probably going to see big improvements right away. It's going to be really good for your baby's body. You're going to be helping them detox by giving them the best food possible. We also did a third step in helping heal our daughter, and that was take supplements. Now, we tried a lot of supplements, so I'm only going to mention the ones here that I saw a really big difference with. And the first of those is fish oil. Fish oil is extremely necessary to have soft, supple skin. It's very anti-inflammatory. It's good for the brain. We should all be taking fish oil, but especially people with eczema. And the brand that I really like is called NORDIC Naturals. It's great for babies because they have a lemon flavor that has a very pleasant taste, or at least my daughter thought so. It was kind of like a treat for her. They also have gummies, and it has a good ratio of EFA to DHA. I will link that brand in the notes as well. The next supplement that I would definitely give a baby with eczema is vitamin D3. Research shows that probably most of us are deficient in vitamin D3, but it is incredibly necessary for the immune system, and eczema is from a compromised immune system, so you definitely need to be taking more D3. I was actually supplementing my daughter every day, and I went to get her tested and she was still low. I'm sorry, I can't remember the exact amounts, but I do remember that she needed at least 2,000 to 3,000 IUs a day. I also wonder if eczema doesn't get worse in the winter, not only because the air is drier, but because you have less vitamin D from less sunlight. The next supplement that was really crucial for us was INULIN, which is a prebiotic. And this is actually one of the supplements that was not recommended on the GAPS diet. she recommended lots of probiotics. And some people have great success with probiotics, like a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of moms whose kids have had eczema and they love their probiotics. It didn't make that much of a difference for us. We tried a lot of really expensive brands, but with the INULIN, we saw really big results. We ended up seeing more results from eating fermented foods than from consuming probiotics. So really, when you do a gut healing diet like this and take supplements, you just have to play it by ear and really watch your baby. A lot of mothers actually would keep a journal to see what foods baby was reacting to. And the last supplement that we routinely took were several yeast killers. As I mentioned, as a baby, my daughter couldn't swallow pills, but I believe I did find certain liquid yeast killers. I'm sorry, I can't think of the name right now. For myself, I took something called Candex. I noticed really big results with that. Really, as far as supplements go, anything that's cleansing or anti-inflammatory is really going to help your baby's intestinal tract, which will in turn help their eczema. We stayed on this diet for about a year, and I learned a lot during this time. I really learned to cook from scratch because you are not buying anything from the store except raw ingredients. After the food allergy testing, my goal with the diet and with the supplements was to have my daughter able to eat more foods and to also start gaining weight. I'd say after about a year into the diet, she really started to put on weight. She did continue to have flare-ups during the diet. Sometimes when you're healing, you'll become super sensitive. And so she would flare up from something that seemed really innocuous, but then later on she'd be fine with it. But I would say by the time she was 2, her flare-ups had completely disappeared and her skin looked absolutely beautiful. I also mentioned that I showed signs of gut dysbiosis. While I was on that diet, my seasonal allergies completely disappeared, and my other daughter, who had had very mild eczema, her eczema disappeared as well. I'm not gonna lie though, it was really hard to do this diet. It was really strenuous to have any kind of social life. We basically had to bring our food everywhere, and because there's no complex carbs on this diet, you constantly have to be cooking and filling yourself up with fat and meat and vegetables. I think we probably could have stayed on this diet for a bit longer with more benefit, but I was pregnant again, and quite honestly, I was really happy with the success I had seen with my daughter, and I slowly transitioned her off. I can count on my right hand the number of times that she's had any eczema at all, and it was always because she ate a lot of sugar or junk food over a long period of time, like summer camp. She still doesn't tolerate cow dairy and gluten very well as peanuts. But all the other foods she used to react to, and there were a lot, I honestly cannot remember all the foods that she used to ingest that she used to react to. She does fine with them. She's now a healthy 14-year-old. I am really grateful for all the information that I found on the GAPS diet and the confidence it gave me to actually help heal my daughter's body. One thing I learned from all the other mothers I talked to with eczema and the natural doctors I talked to is that oftentimes when a baby has eczema, they will have other siblings who have eczema as well. And I think that I was able to heal my gut so much that none of our other children have had eczema or the severe food allergies that my daughter had. And I did go on to have 5 more children. If there's a big takeaway from this video, I want it to be that eczema is not just a topical rash that you should try to manage. It is something that needs to be treated, and that could look different for everyone. But I think the 3 steps I outlined here, testing, gut healing diet, and good supplements, are going to be helpful for anyone trying to heal from eczema. If in the meantime you are looking for some instant relief for your itchy rash, you might want to check out my video on castor oil lotion.